Hello, welcome back to Jorbs Scribbles on the Screen, and talks about every card in the Slay the Spire compendium. Today I'm talking about Perfected Strike. I just want to say Ironclad has such sweet commons. Going through this has really made me appreciate how many of these Ironclad commons are just really cool. I wonder if I'll have the same experience going through Silent and Defect and maybe Watcher commons, or like, I don't know. Cards like Perfected Strike and Body Slam and Havoc, they're just so elegant and so immediately enticing. Make me want to play more of the game. So, Perfected Strike deals 6 damage and an additional 2 damage for all your cards containing Strike, or 3 damage if upgraded. This does get modified during combat, so if you exhaust strikes during combat, this number goes down. If you dual wield strikes during combat, the number goes up. Just saying. So, first off, yes, it is possible to win with 4 copies of this card, and like that's sort of your deck. You can build Perfected Strikes plus Pommel Strikes, and it is possible to win like that. No, you should almost certainly not be trying to do that at any point ever in Slay the Spire. It is plausible that it can happen, but you have to put so many bad cards in your deck. And usually if you win a run like that, it's because something broken happened such that basically any form of dealing damage would have been good enough to win. It's like, okay, yeah, you won like that, but you got Incense Burner, Pori, Tungsten Rod. Was it really the Perfected Strikes that caused you to win the run? You know? So, I mean, yeah, I have a Perfected Strike win up on YouTube, which you can go check out if you want. I'm sure Googling Jorbs Perfected Strike will find you it, but that run was definitely won by other defensive things that were incredibly strong, and then Perfected Strikes were just sort of there doing the damage while the other strong stuff carried the run. That said, but it is fine to take Perfected Strike and even to upgrade Perfected Strike for early damage. This is not a bad damage card early on in the run at all. It's going to deal 18 damage in the starter deck, and it's going to deal 24 if you upgraded it, which is a great upgrade. Dealing 6 more damage out of an upgrade early is like, you just don't get that on very many cards. So, that's cool. You can even grab a Twin Strike and a Pommel Strike. Those cards are both okay to be adding to your deck early on in the run. There's nothing super wrong with that. And all of a sudden you have a card that gets you through Gremlin Knob and Lagavulin and Sentries, and even does okay in Act 2 if you run into a Snecko-Eye or an Necronomicon. Common things that I'm mentioning when talking about all these 2-cost Ironclad common attacks. All of a sudden the attack gets even better. It's not even unreasonable to take 2 of these. They make each other stronger, and that's sort of getting towards how much damage you need to have in your deck to be surviving Act 2 Elite fights. So if you're not being offered better damage options, it's not super ridiculous to be taking Perfected Strikes, even taking 2 of them to get through Act 2. Now that said, remember, even if you have 2 don't do it. Don't do it, viewer. I know you want to do it, but don't. Even if you have 2 Perfected Strikes in your deck and you're in Act 2, you can still make a significantly better Ironclad deck than a deck with 4 Perfected Strikes and a bunch of Twin Strikes and crap by just taking the other cards that are good instead of more of these. Almost always. Just like, look at the 3rd Perfected Strike and think to yourself, cool. And then like, take the Limit Break, or the Shrug It Off, or the Inflame, or the Reaper, or just please take the good cards instead. It's really important to remember that you have to block somehow in this game. So, like, I've had ridiculous runs with cards like Perfected Strike or Searing Blow, where I don't even end up using the card to deal damage because I have to use Feed to get max HP so I can survive the boss fights at the end. So it just like sits in my hand, it's like 2 energy, deal 40 damage, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. But the enemy has 35 health right now, and I need to feed on it, so I'm just going to use all of the other broken shit in my deck, which is the only reason I'm able to do anything with Perfected Strike here anyway, in order to survive long enough and deal a little bit of damage, and then I'll feed instead. And then I get to the heart fight, and yeah, I can play my Perfected Strikes for a little bit of damage, right? But really the other stuff that's going on is what won me the run. So, Perfected Strike. Completely fine to get some damage into your deck early if other options are not available. It's even a pretty good option. Like, you can even, like, if you're offered Clothesline or something, I could definitely see myself taking a Perfected Strike over it just because it deals significantly more damage in an act where damage is a huge deal. Act 1 often feels like it's about trading your max HP for deck strength by adding more damage to your deck and not worrying that much about block cards for a while. It's okay in that situation, but it looks like it's an entire deck, right? And it really isn't. But there's that one YouTube run where I did, but it mostly isn't, right? Anyway, cool. Don't do it.